Hello and welcome to Crucible of Words for more dedicated legacy action. Do you want to see a really interesting looking mana curve? Well, take a gander at this one. Look at the 4-drop slot here, 20 cards in the 4-drop slot. Alright, so today, if you haven't guessed already, we are playing monoblack Helm of Obedience. This is primarily a combo deck that wins with either having Dauthi Voidwalker or Leyline in the Void played, and targeting your opponent with Helm of Obedience, which will mill their entire library into exile. Pretty straightforward combo, but we've got a lot of good black stuff to sort of go around it and keep it running. So we have KARN the Great Creator and a big package that we'll discuss after we've gone through the main deck. We've got Opposition Agent as a disruptive element. We've got Grief and Thoughtseize as other disruptive elements. We have a single Ill-Gotten Gains, which if you have Dauthi Voidwalker or Leyline in the Void in play, this will mind twist your opponent and then give you 3 cards back, so pretty good. And we have Sheoldred just as one of the best creatures you can do stuff with these days. It is legendary, which is clearly a downside in Legacy, but the abilities on this card are pretty great, and they will definitely cause people a lot of problems, so it's a very strong way of winning the game that isn't our combo, and can even just buy us time in terms of gaining life to get our combo set up. And then we got some fast mana in Dark Ritual and Chrome Mox. And if you look at our mana base, we've got 8 soul lands. So we're going hard in there because we got so many 4-drops, we really need to try and make it so we can cast them. Normally when I play sort of mono black decks, I tend to have what I would describe as a slightly more respectful mana curve. This one is pushing it a little bit in my opinion. But again, Grief is a 4-drop, but it's not a 4-drop, right? It's a thing we're pitching cards to. But we got this as a pitch spell. We've got the Chrome Mox as a pitch spell. We've got Dark Ritual, which is just like a one-off effect to get some more mana. So we're going to be a little bit low on cards when we get to our sort of payoffs. So we just got to hope that they're good enough. Also in the mana base, we have Takenuma, which I'm not really a fan of here. But I'm taking a recent list that won a Legacy Prelim. So this is a legendary land. So there's 2 legendary lands with the same name here. So we might get caught on that at some point. And you can pay 4, discard it. You mill 3, then return a creature or planeswalker from your graveyard to your hands, cost 1 less for each legendary creature you control. So this is hopefully a way to buy back a KARN or something like that. That's the plan anyway. We got a couple of Urborg, again, legendary lands, so we might trip over ourselves a little bit if we have 2 of them. But these are going to make our City of Traitors and Ancient Tomb tap for black mana. Agadeem's Awakening, this is basically just a land that can be wastelanded, but it does also go into our Chrome Mox, which is the main reason for running it. It's just another thing that we can pitch to our Chrome Mox. Sometimes we will be like reanimating maybe a Dauthi Voidwalker or even an Opposition Agent. And I guess if we have a lot of mana, maybe we can do the 1, 2, 3 of Dauthi Voidwalker, Opposition Agent and Grief. But mostly this is just a land. And we got a few little swampies in here as well. So our deck is surprisingly vulnerable to Wasteland and Blood Moon effects. We've got a lot of black pips we're trying to do, like Dauthi Voidwalker is black-black. A lot of these spells are black-black. So we could definitely come undone here. So I think this particular list is pushing its luck a little bit, if I'm being honest. It feels like we are... I don't think we need 2 Takenumas for a start. But anyway, we're going to run this list. Let's talk about the KARN package. So we've got a creature to beat down with in Wurmcoil Engine. We have Mycosynth Lattice to stop our opponent's things from doing anything. We have the other piece of our combo. So we've got 3 Helms in the main and 4 KARN, so effectively 7 copies of Helm. We've got Chalice. We can bring this in, put it on 0 to really ruin some Storm decks and stuff. Trinisphere, again, can shut down anything that's trying to cast spells that are low to the ground, especially multiple copies. Stonebrain, if we need to take out certain cards from our opponent's deck, like Thassa's Oracle, for example, we can just strip their win condition from them. And Stonebridge, if we need to hide behind it. The Filigree Sylex. This is just Ratchet Bomb, so we can use this to blow some stuff up, and it blows up all non-land permanents of that CMC, so we can actually use it to blow up enchantments, which is something that Mono Black struggles with historically. Liquimetal Coating, this combined with KARN lets us strip mine our opponent with our KARN activations. We turn the land into an artifact. +1 with the KARN, it dies. Pithing Needle, pretty understandable here. There's lots of things we might want to shut down, whether it's a Grizzlebrand, whether it's a sneak attack or whatever. There's quite a lot of things. Elvish Reclaimer, Thespian Stage, you name it. A land that we could go and fetch with KARN. I always like having one of these in when I can. We have a Tormod Crypt. This is the best graveyard hate we can have here because we already have a lot of graveyard hate. But if we're going to find a piece of graveyard hate, we want it to be something we can use immediately. So we play KARN, we minus it, get the Crypt, cast it for 0. So basically, all of these cards are staying in our sideboard. These are just our KARN Wish package. And then we have 3 Plague Engineers. So if we're playing against creature deck that we're going to want to be killing a load of stuff with, possibly orcs in the world of Orcish Bowmasters we're looking to kill. But this is usually good when opposition agent is bad as a general rule, but there are some decks where you might want both of them. Things like Newton Elves. This has got some decent play to it. Alright, and that's it for the deck. We're trying to not necessarily cheese our opponent out, but a little bit, right? We're trying to put a 4 mana thing into play on turn 1 or turn 0 and then just try and ramp out the Helm. So we can kill people as early as turn 1 with our mana acceleration, but we've got some reasonable other lines we can take in the game. Alright, like, comment, subscribe. Remember to do these things once you finish watching. Why not check out my Patreon link below, and let's play some Legacy. We're on the play. Our opponent is a 61 card deck, which could be Oops All Spells. Think, what does our hand do here? We can play a turn 1 Dauthi Voidwalker, but then where are we going? Or we can play a turn 2 Dauthi Voidwalker. Because it's kind of awkward losing the Dark Ritual just to play the Dauthi Voidwalker on 1, but I think it's probably necessary here. Right, we'll keep this one. We've got 8 Soul Lands, we've got Dark Rituals, we've got Chrome Moxes, they'll certainly help us jump the curve. Let's play this. Pay 3 life. Dark Ritual. Dauthi Voidwalker. Pass the turn. Kind of spending 2 cards to make Dauthi Voidwalker doesn't feel great, but our opponent represented a 61 card deck, which is usually, not usually, but it's quite often Oops All Spells. I would say about 60% of the time it's Oops All Spells. It's one of the few decks that should be running 61 cards in my opinion. So let's see what our opponent's got going on over there. Cracking their Scalding Tarn. Our Badlands. An Ether Vial. Interesting. Could be good old fashioned goblins. That makes sense with a 61 card because I have a lot of cheaters. Okay. Happy to see a little land there. Let's get our damage in. So finding a soul land would be really nice here. Dark Ritual wins us the game. But we can shut off their Ether Vial with a KARN pretty quickly. Is this going to name Goblin? Yeah, okay. Yeah, so 61 cards make sense for Goblin purely because they've got so many tutor effects in their deck. Oh, this is a new one. Let's have a little read of this. Double Strike. Whenever a Goblin or Orc you control deals combat damage to a player, you may exile the top card of your library. You may play that card this turn. And it has Double Strike. Oh, that's pretty cool. We're playing the all the Crypts of Agadeem. So we might be able to Ill-Gotten Gains next turn, which will give us the ability to get back our Dark Ritual and guarantee a kill next turn. But we don't want to get caught out by a Cycler or the 2-drop Goblin that shoots stuff, because then we're not really going to get anywhere. Okay, so our opponent's going to get a whole bunch of stuff in here, and we couldn't really do anything about it because Dauthi Voidwalker, not known for its blocking abilities. Ether Vial, enter the exile zone, sure. And then they're going to get some more cards here. A Mog War Marshal, a Horde Master. Okay, so they're going for super duper value goblins here. Okay, a Goblin Matron. Munitions Expert. Okay, so they can kill our Dauthi Voidwalker now. There's the Horde Master. They're going to put the Munitions Expert in now. They are. Okay. I feel we're probably going to lose this one. But we've got these Plague Engineers in the sideboard, which certainly feel useful. This is 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I guess we can play this. I suspect we're going to die here. No, this is attacking for 4, right? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yeah, we're just dead. Alright. Yeah, if we'd have just played turn 2 Dauthi Voidwalker, we might have been alright on that one instead of powering out. Kind of baited in a little bit by the 61 cards. So this is a game where I would like these Plague Engineers. They seem a fine way to approach this game. Do you want a Filigree Sylex in the main deck? It's also an interesting one. So Opposition Agent is good versus Goblin Matron. I don't know if they're running Boggart Harbinger though, but the Opposition Agent is pretty fine here. It can also block some of their creatures quite reasonably. Shutting off their Ether Vial is quite nice with the KARN. Graveyard doesn't really impact our opponent that much. But I think we need to trim on some of the higher end here. So let's get rid of a Sheoldred, a KARN, maybe one of the Leylines of the Void. We don't really want to draw multiples of those. We kind of need them for our combo, which is a little bit awkward. That's the thing about monoblack Cam. When you're against decks that don't really care about that graveyard, it feels pretty awkward. I don't think we can keep this one. We would very much like to keep this one. I don't think we need double Leyline here. Just one is fine. Do I think our opponent is going to Thoughtseize us is the question. I think I'd like to use the Plague Engineer to kill our opponent's turn 1 Lackey. They want to play turn 1 Lackey or Vial. Those are the best things they can do. If they Thoughtseize us and take our Engineer, that's really annoying. Right, so there's a Vial. Okay. Alright, this feels like a good way to approach this one. Right. Plague Engineer into Plague Engineer is probably going to make our opponent quite sad. Especially since a lot of their removal relies on them having a Goblin in play. A Wasteland. We're going to lose our city. Sorry, Ancient Tomb. That's fine because we have the city. Ether Vial, sure. I think I will just play the city out here. 2 Plague Engineers on Goblin. That's probably going to be quite good in this matchup, I would imagine. I'm trying to think what creatures they can have that even survive this. So like Krenko and Muxus. The 2 ones that survive this setup, I think. Now they might have Pyrokinesis to kill both of our guys. Or a Fury. But I think just getting our guys that can beat down into play is useful here. A sudden needed. Sure, we lose one of our guys. I'm inclined to not do anything here so that we can Agadeem's Awakening back this Plague Engineer if we draw another mana source. Wishstone Port. Okay, that kind of messes with our plan a little bit. Probably lose the city here. Yeah. Ancient Tomb. It's kind of awkward, isn't it? I think we do need to put more threats on the board, which means we're probably giving up our city here. Wait, what am I doing? This is 3, 4, 5. Sorry, oh, I've done that wrong, haven't I? We're supposed to have 1 more mana here. Yeah, we just sacrificed our city for no reason there. Bit of a fluff. What we're looking at, a Goblin Matron that immediately dies. So we're just going to find the one that pings for 2. Yeah, we shouldn't have played the Ancient Tomb there. Goblin Ringleader. That survives the Plague Engineer. The Ether Vial's getting somewhat out of control now. And they can sit behind the Ether Vials and just use their port as well. Which is going to suck for us. So we can Dauthi Voidwalker Helm. I think that's probably... Sorry, Dauthi Voidwalker Thoughtseize. That's probably where we want to be here. Cast this first, because then if anything goes into the void, we can at least do something with it. Well, sorry, if we discard something, it'll go... Actually, no, this is going to go into Leyline, isn't it? Because it stacks them, so the Leyline is what goes first. So it's going to be the Ringleader. And they're going to get... Oh no, it's a Twin Touch, it's not Sniper. That's pretty good. Our opponent's going to have us here. I guess we have to take the Muxus here. That's the scariest thing they have available. Play this tapped. We don't have the mana to really leverage this into anything now. Feels like our opponent's going to absolutely smash us apart here. Nice to see a bit Goblins though. I don't mind losing to Goblins. Yep, so we lose our other creature. And then they can deploy Lackey. Yep. Gain a little bit of damage here. Next turn they can do all sorts of horrible things to us. Yep, port down the Tomb, sure. Agree, that's not going to do anything here. Yeah, so this is kind of a good example of the differences between what we're playing and what our opponent's playing, in that all of their cards do something, right? Whereas some of our cards require a little bit more effort to do stuff. So like this Leyline is just a blank card. This Grief, if we don't have a black card, all the mana is kind of just nothing. Dark Ritual needs stuff to ramp into. And our deck feels quite reliant on the old Dark Ritual. Let's close this and just let them go to town. They're all hasty. Get smashed. So yeah, so our opponent's deck, like all of their pieces kind of just work. They're just guys, right? And if they can just answer the things we're putting in the way, like the Plague Engineer, then we're just kind of getting done. I think the turn we played the Ancient Tomb ended up not mattering, but I think that was still a mistake because we were just so locked under what they've got going on here that we couldn't really do anything. The Wishstone Port, we're trying to make 4 drops in our deck and we're just not really getting there. Alright, 0-1, let's go to round 2. This hand is pretty reasonable. We've got 1 drop, 2 drop. We don't really have 3 drops in our deck apart from the opposition agents, so we're not going to get a 3 drop most likely. But if we find a soul land, then we can go into a 4 drop, and that's going to be pretty strong. Oh, let's have a look. Blood Moon that we're actually okay against. Fable, Rabblemaster. Yikes. So we can't really cut them off of a powerful play in the very near future. I think we're supposed to take the Spirit Guide and slow them down. Like them having one less Fable or whatever isn't really going to make the difference, I don't think. Okay, we have a 3-drop. Get our little guy in. If they can play a Blood Moon, it's very unlikely that's the 3-drop they're going to play here. Alright. They drew another Spirit Guide. Okay, so drew Spirit Guide into land as their 2 draws. A little bit awkward. But again, they could have just had a Soul Land in one of those 2 draws. So it's not out of the realms of possibility. Let's go to attacks here. Our opposition agent isn't going to catch anything here. Our opponent doesn't really search their library, so... I guess if they play a Chaos Adventurer, we can opposition agent and steal their tutoring for a land. That's okay. Let's see what they've been off here. The Blood Moon and a Den of the Bugbear. A Rabble Master, sure. So we can eat the little guy. So, Dark Ritual or a Soul Land. We can play the Helm of Obedience and say, can you kill us next turn? I think that's probably where we want to be. And I don't think... Do we need to... I guess I'm just trying to think if it's worth holding this up in case they have a red spell, but I think we're just going to bash for a little bit here. And then our opponent has got 1 turn to answer our Helm of Obedience or our Dauthi Voidwalker. Fury. They drew the Fury. Oof. That's real bad. That kills both of our guys. Yeah. Oof. In a lot of ways, I think the mono-red deck is kind of like a better version of what we're doing in some ways. Like, they've got all this mana ramp into the good stuff. We can still draw another Dauthi Voidwalker here, so we're not completely dead. But like all of their cards, like their interaction is just way better than most of the stuff we're bringing to the table. And their pieces are just individually good instead of having this combo kill. Oh my god, we actually drew it. Better lucky than good. Incredible. Yeah, what a silly top deck. Plague Engineer on Goblin, again. Two games in a row I like that. Opposition Agent doesn't seem very good here. That's a pretty good cut. The Karn is actually quite nice here. Do you want any of these in the main deck? There's an argument for the Sylex, because realistically we're not gonna be using the Sylex to... We're not going to be using the Karn to get a Sylex in this matchup. But if it's in the main deck and we can draw it, that's probably okay. Can sweep a bunch of little guys and tokens and things. Sure, I'll try like this. Now we have a question. How good is turn 1 Sheoldred the Apocalypse? Probably pretty good. Well, let's find out, shall we? Not a big lover of this hand. But we can cast some good stuff. Like, we have Plague Engineers to draw and things, so... Right, we don't care about this Chalice, that's good. Chrome Mox. We'll imprint one of the Agadeem's Awakenings. Chrome Mox. We'll imprint one of the Sheoldreds. And we'll play out our city. And just play a big creature. And hope that this can get there. It doesn't die too much in the way of their removal here. Like Fury doesn't really do anything to it. It beats a lot of their creatures in combat. Now Chaos Adventurer is certainly big enough to rumble with it. It puts us in a bit of an awkward spot. Goblin Rattle Master, sure. So we can eat the first one. Gain some life here. Are we attacking? I think we're attacking here. We are winning the damage race of what we've got in play. If we need to, we can also replay the second Sheoldred so that we have a blocker if we need one for a turn. Dark Ritual, that doesn't really do anything for us here. Attack here. So our opponent needs to answer the Sheoldred immediately. I don't think they can hit us for 20 here. So they need a blocker for the Sheoldred. Wow, I can't believe we won that game. Oh, that match even. I guess turn 1 Sheoldred was good enough, as it turns out. But there are a lot of situations where that might not be good enough. But we managed to find one there. Like if they showed us any white mana, like if they were like red-white initiative, we wouldn't keep this hand because Caracas just completely answers it. But they did just look like a straight-up mono-red thing, which can mainly deal chunks of 4 damage, not 5. Alright, we got a win. Let's go to round 3. Alright, this is our opening hand. I don't really like it, to be honest. Our opponent's Faltered Form, who normally plays combo decks, and they've represented a 61 card deck, and I know that they're very active on the useful spells. We're going to mulligan for a Leyline, I think, here. Let's go again. Alright. Am I going to keep this because I think that they are running useful spells? I think I am. As crazy as this is. Let's just get rid of Karn and Sheoldred. If they're useful spells, as I believe they are. Okay, it looks like we got him. Now our hand isn't very good. But we need some mana here. Alright, an Urborg. That's something. Let's Thoughtseize our opponent. Balustrade Spy, Cabal Ritual, Dark Ritual. I guess we got to take the guy that can beat down here, because that's how they're probably going to win this game. Alright, so there's a Thoughtseize from our opponent. If we can get some more mana, then, you know, any of the creatures we play will be, or any of the things that we can play in our deck will be better than the beatdown plan of Oops. But sometimes you don't get there. And alright, that's a pretty good one. I think once we deploy a threat that's good enough, our opponent will probably scoop. Any land. Yay, we found any land. So now the beatdown race is probably not on for our opponent. They need to make creatures probably within the next 2 turns and then put them back to back. Yeah, so like I said, our opponent knows what's up there. So, begin sideboarding. Our opponent is going to board in... So we could board in Plague Engineers to get around the Narcomoebas, so they automatically die, but they run 1 bridge from below, so they would get zombies, so this wouldn't actually do anything. Do we want any of these things, to be honest? Like Chalice and Trinisphere are both kind of interesting. The Opposition Agent is good here. So if we have the Chalice and the Trinisphere, do we want the Tormod's Crypt? I think we want the Tormod's Crypt in the sideboard. Do you want Chalice in the sideboard? Certainly got some potential text on it. I don't think we need Sheoldred. We're either going to win or not win, right? So, yeah, this is a case of making sure our opponent doesn't win rather than us trying to win the game, if you know what I mean. We'll try it like this. We have no Leyline in this hand. It's not a particularly great hand either, so I think we'll mulligan. Turn 1 Karn goes and gets Tormod's Crypt. And we'll keep this on the play, but I don't think I can keep it on the draw. Okay, our opponent's kept 6. Do I think they have an answer for Leyline in their opening hand? I think they must do. So we're going to rock like this and throw back the City. And probably the Urborg, because that helps our opponent out a little bit. So we're working on the plan that our opponent doesn't have a turn 1 answer, that our opponent has a turn 1 answer for Leyline rather than a turn 1 kill. They could have both. Right, we're getting Thoughtseized here. Oh no, Dark Ritual. Alright. Being on the play for game 3 is definitely going to help us out here. Okay, I took the Trinisphere. There's an Undercity Informer. So next turn they can just ping it off and get us. It's not really the one. We're going to Thoughtseize them just so we can see how they've sideboarded. Foundation Breaker. Yeah, so they had the turn 1 answer for the... They had the answer for the Leyline. They didn't actually have the mana for it though. But we are... Our goose is cooked here if they pop, and I don't see why they wouldn't unless they fear us having some kind of Sage Extraction, but yeah, okay, they're just going to pop it. I just want to see how they've sideboarded. Oh. They're going to come in for their 2 damage first. Yeah, now they're going to pop it. I just want to see their deck configuration. Will they sideboard it in? Foundation Breaker, and presumably some amount of Force of Vigors. Yeah, they still have... let's have a look. Yeah, Memory's Journey's still in there. They didn't board out the Bridge from Belows. Yeah, okay. They boarded exactly as I thought they would. Understood. On the play, things do get better for us. Do we want a Tormod's Crypt as a turn 0 thing we can do? I think we probably do here. Take out one of our Karns. So now our opponent has to contend with the fact that we have turn 1 hand disruption and all this graveyard hate. So this matchup is usually pretty great for us. So we have Leyline and hand disruption. We need to find another mana source for this hand to really pop off. But the fact that we can Thoughtseize our opponent and have Leyline is amazing, so I'm going to keep this. Do we get rid of the Grief or do we get rid of the Opposition Agent? I think it's the Grief here. They can reanimate our Grief if they have the one of reanimate. So if they have the Force of Vigor, they'll pop it now on the Leyline. Yep, so there's a Force of Vigor, pitching the Spirit Guide. So we get to strip a lot out of our opponent's hand here. So they have Agadeem's Awakening. So they've got 3 mana if they want it. If we take the Agadeem's Awakening here, then they're going to be stuck for black mana a little bit. If we take the Undercity Informer, that's kind of the payoff. We might get a lot more draws to do something with this game. I don't think we can risk them drawing a Dark Ritual or something. So if we take the Agadeem there, then our opponent might not have black mana. Unless they put their Thoughtseize in. But if they draw a Ritual or something, then we just toast. Yeah, so we're going to get Thoughtseize here. This means that we lose the Trinisphere, which is annoying. They can't win through a Trinisphere, so they're going to take that. Right, let's draw some mana sources, please. Okay, there's a turn Timber Grove. We at least have a play we can make here. Our life total doesn't really matter in this matchup. Alright, so we have a Helm. We could be cheeky and try and Helm our opponent and get a Balustrade Spy or Undercity Informer and try and mill them out. But they have Memory's Journey available, so that's probably not a great idea. Alright, so the Chrome Mox is coming down. We find one of their guys? No. Need to find a way of beating down at some point. I don't really want to cast the City of Traitors. So normally when I play these mono black decks, I have more actual black sources in my deck. And we're definitely feeling the hit. So this isn't my list, like I said at the start. It's one that won a prelim. Dread Return on the Undercity Informer. Okay. And they got the other Spirit Guide. Yeah, they just got us here a taste. Yeah, that'll do. Yeah, the good hands from Oops are very hard to beat at the end of the day, but I don't think our deck is actually very optimal, if I'm being honest. So let's go into the 4th round. We can make a turn 2 Sheoldred. I don't really like that as just our only play, really. I think we'll mulligan. No black sources yet again. Let's mulligan. We have 2 black sources and some stuff we can do with it as time goes on. I guess we keep this. 2 of these cards have to go. So we want to keep our combo. Do you want to get rid of the Ill-Gotten Gains, or do you want to get rid of the Grief here? Oh, sorry, or the Opposition Agent. I think we get rid of the Ill-Gotten Gains. Then it's one of these 2 that has to go. I guess the Opposition Agent is something we're more likely to cast. But maybe the Grief will help us push through if we're just trying to do the combo here. Alright. Not a big lover of our hand. So we are a deck that mulligans quite heavily, and sticking Grief in a deck that mulligans heavily feels pretty bad. Because we don't recoup the advantage as well. Like, at least the reanimated decks can just go, okay, we'll pitch our Grief, but then we'll get it back. And if they do their one thing, it's usually powerful enough. We kind of, our one thing is multiple things, and some of it costs 4 mana. Alright, we're looking like some sort of Delver. Is it Grixis? Is it Rug? Who knows? Yeah, this is going to be a little bit awkward. We can play the Agadeem's Awakening here, but they can Wasteland it. Now, we're not under a lot of pressure because the Leyline's going to keep their guys small and it's going to stop Murktide from doing anything. Right, Dragon's Rage Channeler. Getting a trigger on that. Doing a Ponder. Are they Rug or are they Grixis? They are Grixis, okay. I think Grixis is just the best Delver variant by quite a mile now. Unless you want to go Rug, which definitely has some merit to it. Thoughtseize. Okay, so we're going to lose our Helm of Obedience here. So the one plan we had is gone because Delver decks get to run Hand Disruption, Land Disruption, and counter spells now. Tough cookie to crack, this one. I do think that Grixis Delver is the best deck in Legacy right now. I don't think the exact perfect build has been worked out yet, but I do think it is the best deck. There goes our Grief. Sheoldred the Apocalypse. Let's play a land. So we can play the Sheoldred as kind of like a bait spell, but if it resolves, it's very good anyway. Daze is definitely going to be an issue for us here. They must have a Daze or something. Alright, let's go for... This demands a Force of Will or a Daze, but I don't think we get the luxury of playing around the Daze here. Orcish Bowmasters. Alright, I'm going to do this into a Daze maybe. Yeah, there it is. Okay, so next turn we can try the Helm, playing around Daze because we can use our City of Traitors. We can't beat a Force of Will here. How long do we have to try and find some hand disruption? Okay, so taking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 this turn. We've got 3 cards in hand. Finding some hand disruption would be nice, but Takenuma, what does that do? We can get back our Sheoldred. So we can do this now and get back Sheoldred. Then we take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we play the Sheoldred next turn. We don't have the time. We have to go for it now, I think, because if we get back Sheoldred, we cast it next turn, and then we can block this, take 1, 2, 3. That puts us to 4, provided our Sheoldred lives. If they have a counter spell and we do the Sheoldred, then how are we going to beat that? If we have the counter spell, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're going to 7, and then next turn we play the Sheoldred. if they counter that, we take 5 and go to 2. We're risking dying to Lightning Bolt the whole time as well. I think we have to go for it here. I don't think it gets better for us from this point onwards against the blue deck. We're playing around days. They have the Force of Will. Okay. Yep, so they had a Lightning Bolt, so if we did the other play, we were definitely dead as well, I believe. Because our Sheoldred gets counterspelled, and then they bolt us. And that's enough, I reckon. Can we draw another Helm? We cannot draw another Helm. We can't put any of these back into play, we just lose there. I don't know, maybe the Sheoldred play keeps us alive for one more turn? It's tricky. So... Plague Engineer is okay here. I think I prefer Plague Engineer to Opposition Agent, especially in our new world of Bowmasters. Just leave everything else in there, I guess. So Karn feels pretty bad into Delver. This is why I don't really like these builds. I prefer having a more even looking curve than just all the 4-drops. Our deck isn't actually that good at casting 4-drops reliably as much as I would like. No black sources. We're on to that problem again. It's mulligan. So we can make 2 black mana on turn 1. That's okay. We can keep this and get rid of a Thoughtseize, I think. So that's Chrome Mox. We're imprinting the Plague Engineer or the Thoughtseize. I think it's the Thoughtseize. Play this, pay 3 life, make the Dauthi Voidwalker. So this way we can use the Plague Engineer to clean up humans quite effectively if we need to. Can sweep up Delver, can sweep up Dragon's Race Channeler. And at least we're putting bodies into play. That's something we need to do. Now I could just Lightning Bolt this. Yep. Alright. Now things get slightly trickier. Karn the Great Creator. Okay, we don't get to cast any spells. Underground Sea from our opponent. Into Delver of Secrets. And Dragon's Race Channeler. Oh, this would be a good time to draw a land. We did draw a land. They got a Force of Will? They do not. So we name Human. We get a nice 2 for 1 there. And then next turn we can deploy the Karn. Alright, we're getting there. Night's Whisper. How the Mighty has fallen. All the way down to playing Night's Whispers. I don't think that's right. Thoughtseize, we're going to lose one of our Karns, but then we can deploy another one. Now, I think they might have a Daze. Because we obviously played around it last turn, but we didn't get that luxury this turn. I would rather have a Sheoldred in play than a Karn. So I'm going to feed the Karn into the Daze. Like so. Now, we can get a little bit punished here if our opponent wastes that. Oh, wow, we're just in. That's pretty good. If we plus this so it dodges Lightning Bolt. And then next turn we can go and get something exciting with it. Our opponent just doesn't have any counter spells, I guess. I can make a little Murktide here. Just a little Murktide. Let's go fishing with Karn. I think I want to play the Ensnaring Bridge around a Daze. Okay. So now we're looking at trying to drain them out with Sheoldred. Bowmasters. Pinging the Karn, which might mean they have a Lightning Bolt here. Ponder first, sure. We get to smack our Sheoldred down, which is better than the Bowmasters on this particular board, I would say. Alright. Are we okay feeding this into a counterspell? I think so. Right, they're just scooping up to the Sheoldred. Okay, let's go to... Didn't feel like we were winning that game until we won that game, really. The fact that we just got to stick our big thing and they didn't have any interaction was quite interesting. Right, I think we just resubmit. Don't really like this hand very much. These Ancient Tombs are a bit of a liability against Delver. Turn 2 Sheoldred is probably not good enough here. I think we need to mulligan again. Yikes. I don't think we're winning on 4 cards in this matchup. Get rid of this. Get rid of... Is it Sheoldred? Sheoldred is very good in this matchup. We're very cold to wasteland effects. I guess we just kind of hope they don't wasteland us. Haven't seen any wastelands yet, so maybe we'll get there. A Bauble. This is going to be the game we draw the second Takenuma, isn't it? We get punished by the legendary claws. Underground Sea, we're getting Thoughtseized, or they're just playing a Delver. We're getting Thoughtseized. Alright, they're going to see how vulnerable our hand is to wasteland, but depending on what they take here, we do get some information about what's in our opponent's hand. Okay, it's a Thoughtseize. That suggests to me that they're more likely to have mana disruption because they're not worried about our top end stuff. So they're going to have permission for the big things that they worry about. Right, not wasteland though. Okay. And they're holding up for Orcish Bowmasters. Chrome Mox, you say? We're going to put the opposition agent underneath this. So we can play a Sheoldred into a Daze, or we can play the Voidwalker paying around Daze. I like the Voidwalker here. Gives us an opportunity to cast Sheoldred round a Daze next turn. There's nothing on the board right now. Obviously we expect an Orcish Bowmasters is about to come into play. But this will keep them off Delirium, so they've got 3 in there right now. Alright, so I'm going to take a ping from the Bowmasters. This feels just like a weird situation, because our opponent hasn't shown us a single Wasteland this whole match so far. Are they not running Wasteland? There's not a land. So we're going to attack here. 3. The last Dauthi Voidwalker worked, so we'll play this one. They might even use a Daze just to make us tap our Ancient Tomb. Turn their Daze into a shock. That's genuinely quite a reasonable thing for them to do. But our clock is 2 turns with the 2 Dauthi Voidwalkers. Okay, they have a Force of Will. Alright. This means our Sheoldred is much more likely to stick. They know we have a Sheoldred. I'm still thinking they have a Daze though. So we're looking for a land just to make sure we can pay around the Daze. So we've got 2 cards in hand. If they're forced with a blue card, then we're not winning this game anyway. Although we can play the Sheoldred and use our Dauthi Voidwalker to force it through, using their force. Cast into the fire. Oof. That's a real bad one for us. Land. It's a land, but it's I would like to pay 3 life. A Daze. So what we have to do here is use their Force of Will against them. And hope that Sheoldred is good enough. Quite often it is. So they did have that Daze that we were playing around. But attacking becomes awkward for our opponent here. The Brainstorm. Oof. That's not where you want to be, opponent. Like, if this finds them an answer to the Sheoldred, then it's pretty good. They have Sheoldred's Edict, no doubt. Should be able to kill Sheoldred, but here we are. If they found the Edict, then we're in trouble. But as of right now, we are ahead. Okay, they're really going deep to find the answer right now. Because this is going to put them to 2. So they will die in their next draw step. They did not shuffle their library, which means they might have a Sheoldred's Edict for next turn. So if we're assuming they have an answer here, if we attack with everything, they could lightning bolt this. So that could be one of the things they've got. So they hope that we attack and then they lightning bolt it and kill us. So I think we just have to pass a turn. If they have the Sheoldred's Edict, then that goes badly for us. Yeah, looks like it. Oh, Petty Theft. Okay. But they're in a similar situation that they were in a minute ago. We do take a chunk here, though. And a Delver. That's their last card. Okay, so we have the game. Am I missing anything here? They will die in their draw step when we redeploy this. We just pass and let them die in their draw step. Because they got no cards in hand. Nothing they can use in their graveyard, like a Cling to Dust type shenanigans. They reveal a Brainstorm, and then they die to Sheoldred. Alright, somehow the Sheoldred got us there. Yeah. Interesting. It's always curious to see how people play into the Sheoldred. Like, do you just not cast your cantrips, or you just try and immediately find an answer and take a big hit of life to do so? It puts your opponent in a pretty horrible spot. They didn't find the Sheoldred's Edict, and they just had the Brazen Borrower, so that was good for us. Yeah, alright, I think we're 2-2 now. Let's go to the final round. So, our opening hand on the play, we can make a turn 2 Sheoldred with a turn 1 Grief. That's probably okay. Probably need to find another black card to really make this work. A Bauble and another Bauble. We're looking at 8 cast, we're looking at Delver. Who knows? They've targeted themselves with the Bauble. Now they're targeting us. Ancient Tomb, that's not really what we wanted. So, then we play this tapped. I don't think we want a Grief. Although, no, Polluted Delta into Mishra's Bauble doesn't make me think combo deck. Makes me think more likely Grixis Delver again. Get to see a whole bunch of our stuff here. They take a black card, it's pretty bad for us. Want them to take the Helm. It's pretty bad if they take the Chrome Mox as well, to be honest. Our opponent could be like some sort of tempo-y Doomsday type thing. Not really seen it with Mishra's Baubles in before, but it's possible. Or they could be something completely new. Right, I took the Sheoldred, which is pretty reasonable. It was the best thing we had going on. Am I looking to hard cast Grief next turn? Right. Very much feeling like Blue Red Delver. I can't, eh? I think we will try for our Chrome Mox here. Imprint out Ill-Gotten Gains. Hardcaster's Grief into a Daze, but it kind of clears the way for the KARN the Great Creator. It does feel like this deck, you're quite often just having to just jam into your opponent. And sometimes you're not going to get anywhere, and sometimes you go, oops, they didn't have it, and then we're fine. Doesn't feel like there's the most amount of levers to tweak your play with. Takenuma, a classic. Let's cast Karn. Got Force of Will for this. A Brainstorm. I do have the Force of Will. Okay. So this is the other end of the monoblack Helm spectrum, where instead of just, oh, I get to play my dumb thing and it wins, this is the, okay, they have a tiny bit of permission and then you don't ever get to do anything meaningful in the game. I don't really like the monoblack, this particular build of monoblack at all, really, but I also do think it can struggle a bit against some of the Delvery decks with a decent amount of blue permission in, because you don't get to... We're just trying to cast big 4-drops here, right? So our opponent is very telegraphed when we're going to cast a big scary thing. And if they count on the big scary thing, we don't have much else going on, unless we run really hot. That's kind of what happens when you sacrifice your curve for just having loads of big 4-drops. A Misty Rainforest. And a Murktide. We've not got a lot of time to try and get this game won. A Grief. 7, 8, 9, 10. If we activate the Ancient Tomb, we don't get to activate the Ancient Tomb again. We could Takenuma back our Karn, and then next turn hope to draw a land so we can Karn Ensnaring Bridge, but that'll take us all of our life basically. So we'll take 2 now to go to 11. Yes, we go to 11 if we do that now, and then we take another 10 and go to 1, so we won't be able to cast anything. We could cast our Helm of Obedience and hope to draw the thing next turn, the Dauthi Voidwalker. I think that's our only play. We do unfortunately have to take a little bit of life here. If we draw the Dauthi Voidwalker exactly, we can win. But if we draw a Leyline, we will not be able to win because of the damage we're taking. If they have Lightning Bolt, we are dead. Alright, so they Lightning Bolted us at the end step. So we are dead. Fair enough. We could spin the Helm of Obedience, try and hit someone chump block with, but then how are we going to win the game? It's just not worth our hassle. So we'll bring this in for human, and then I don't really like Opposition Agent that much here. I don't really like Karn actually either. It's very slow. I'll have 2 of these back just because they're slightly lower on the curve. Alright, we'll try this. Like, we don't have a sideboard because we're running Karn, so we don't get to improve our matchups really. This hand looks unkeepable. It does some things, doesn't it? Throw back the Karn. So we can make turn 2 Dauthi Voidwalker, possibly with a Grief, and then turn 3 try and kill them with Helm. Now our opponent has blue permission, and they have black hand disruption, and they have mana disruption. So the chance of this actually working are very low. But I think it's the best we're going to get here. Underground Sea. That's Thoughtseize mana. Thoughtseize collapses our plan quite catastrophically. Oh, there it is. They can attack our plan in multiple different ways. It's just their choice, really. Alright, they've gone for the Dauthi Voidwalker. That makes sense because it's the only thing we have that actually pressures. We could try for a Grief this turn, but that's playing into days. It just feels like we're not even playing the same format, to be honest. Yikes. Okay, we drew another Dauthi Voidwalker. I'm just thinking if we want to actually cast this or we want to pitch our Ritual to Grief. If we do that, we can make sure the coast is clear. I think that's worth doing here. See if we can get a... Like, we've got more rituals and we got soul lands, so we can still play around getting here. But I think making sure that our Dauthi Voidwalker resolves and also gets to do its thing. Force of Negation, Brainstorm... Okay, so we've got loads of filtering. Let's just take the Force of Negation so that we can free roll our Helm of Obedience when the time comes. Alright, opponent. We're going to see a Ponder or a Brainstorm first. A Ponder. Here's the Floated Strand. They shuffle their library off the Ponder. They're going to Thoughtseize the Helm away. That's awkward. But we get to attack our opponent here. Thoughtseize our opponent. I think we take the Brainstorm here. That's the one that lets them fix their hand if they draw bad stuff. And they have 2 fetch lands all ready to go with it. And because of our Urborg, they don't really need to crack their fetches either. So I think it's better leaving them with the Ponders than the Brainstorm. That is a Scalding Tarn. So they liked one of the cards off the Ponder. Lightning Bolt. Okay, so we have nothing now. Lovely. Another spell we can't cast. Cool. Brainstorm. Sure, I found one anyway. We've been doing a reasonable amount of cantripping, so it's not like they wouldn't have found a brainstorm. Like, they're either going to find action or cantrips. That's basically all they can find at this point. Well, they can find some permission and stuff as well. Alright. They've got a big clock that we will definitely not be able to beat. We've got nothing here. Where are the wastelands? Why are Delver decks not running wastelands? I don't really want our opponent to have a wasteland, but I would very much be running wastelands if I was running Grixis Delver, but I don't have access to Orcish Bowmasters just yet. There is a Dragon's Rage Channeler. It comes 7 damage. Means we're probably going to be drawing something like an Ancient Tomb. It puts us in a horrible spot. We have to cast our Sheoldred if we do. A Dark Ritual. Let's cast that Ritual. We need to get our Sheoldred in play because we need the life off of it. But we're exposed to a Daze that could be in our opponent's hand. They only have 1 card though, so they have been doing a lot of sculpting though, so it's not unreasonable they have the Daze here. But this Sheoldred might not be good enough. So we're taking 7 this turn, possibly 10. So if the DRC doesn't attack, yikes, Orcish Bowmasters. Okay, how does that change the maths? So we can block this, take 7, 8, 9. Not quite the number I was hoping to take here. Right, our opponent's on 8 from our Sheoldred trigger. We have just 2 swings with a Murktide will beat what we're doing. We'll take 7, but we'll go up to 12. And then we'll take 7 and die again. Alright. I guess we block the army, because that represents the most damage, because they can flash something in. Not like another Bowmasters. Right, that puts us to 1. Okay, so Bowmasters will kill us anyway. Sure. How do we get out of this pickle? We gain 2 life. And then we just kill ourselves with this, I guess. Yep, felt pretty decisive and grim. So we finished the league with a 2-3. I think we got a little bit lucky to win some of our games. I think we're unlucky to lose against Oops All Spells. But we were pretty lucky to beat the first Grixis Delver deck we would beat. Right, let's talk about the deck. So as you may have gleaned from my commentary while I was playing this deck, I think this particular build of this deck is not very good. Reasons being, this is our curve, right? We have a bunch of stuff here that we're hoping to get into play. And a single piece of disruption can break our deck. We're very fragile with what we're trying to do. So, like, we're very weak to wasteland effects, which we managed to dodge today, weirdly. Hand disruption, taking out the one thing we're trying to cast, can really be a problem for us. We don't represent much in the way of threats. Like, if we're not jamming like a Sheoldred on turn 1 or whatever, then what are we really doing? I don't think Karn is that good. Like, it's great against the artifact decks, but I just think just generally as a card in the meta right now, it feels really weak. It's expensive, so it gets hit by dazes very easily. It doesn't necessarily impact the board straight away either. So you're paying 4 mana for a spell that doesn't impact the board. That's an issue. And, you know, we've got these Leylines, we've got these Helms, we've got loads of pieces that don't do anything on their own, and we just don't have that much else to support it, really. Like, we've got these horrible griefs in our deck, right? Which don't help with the fact that we mulligan quite a lot, and that we are already pitching stuff to Chrome Mox, and Dark Ritual's kind of a pitch spell on its own, because it's just mana, it's not actually doing anything on its own. So having even more pitch spells feels awkward. Now, yeah, we can cast this, but again, we're probably going to have something to cast on turn 4. That's not the problem. The problem is not getting to 4 mana. The problem is not being able to interact with your opponent's board. So like, there's no sudden edicts or Sheoldred's edicts in the entire 75 here. We just don't have ways of interacting with our opponent outside of, let's hope this Karn does stuff, or maybe they're dead. Now, the ceiling of what this deck can do is, you know, we can do turn 1 Helm of Obedience with Thoughtseize backup kill sort of things. You know, we can have these crazy turn 1, turn 2 things and just shut people down. But we're relying heavily on the Leylines being good in matchups. Like, if Leyline effects aren't devastating to our opponent, our deck feels really underpowered. Now, there are decks like Breakfast in the format, there's Reanimator, there's decks trying to leverage Echo of Eons. You know, there's quite a lot that it hits. It's not terrible against Delver, but now Delver has access to Orcish Bowmasters. They've just got another threat that they can use quite early on. That is, you know, it's 2 mana for 2 power, which isn't the most exciting, But it's one card giving them 2 damage a turn, whereas normally underneath Leyline they have one card doing 1 damage a turn. So in that respect, it's actually pretty reasonable. And if they ever get second Bowmasters, then, you know, their 1/1 Orc becomes a 2/2, and they can do a bit more stuff that way. But it just feels like this deck is very fragile, and what we're doing isn't necessarily powerful enough on average. Now, the high end of what we do, yes, like I said, is very powerful. But I think the average thing of what we're doing is not great. These Takenumas feel like they're inviting trouble to me. Like, I've played monoblack Helm decks on my channel a few times, and I've got better records than I have with this one. I don't particularly like the KARN because it means we don't have a sideboard, so we don't really get to interact with our opponent properly unless these things are useful, and we didn't really get to do much with KARN. Most of the time, KARN is probably either going to find you Helm of Obedience, Ensnaring Bridge, Lattice, or Tormod's Crypt. Like, there's going to be situations where you get the Vault of Whispers, I suppose, and the Liquimetal Coating, but like the Sylex, the Trinisphere, the Chalice, Pithing Needle with the Wurmcoil, they're not really doing it for you. Because when are you getting the Wurmcoil if you need some to keep yourself alive? But Ensnaring Bridge does that better most of the time. So you're probably getting the Ensnaring Bridge. And then once you've got the Ensnaring Bridge, you probably just want the Lattice. Or if you have 6 mana and you just want to win the game, you play the Lattice. So it just feels like we're using up a lot of slots here that we could maybe have some spells that do some stuff, really. So we can actually sideboard. But I just don't like these sort of iffy looking mana bases, really. I think I prefer builds that aren't just trying to make 4 drops, don't have the City of Traitors, so we've got a solid mana base here. And, you know, we've got some stuff to do in the curve, and we have a sideboard where we can put things like Sudden Edict, Sheoldred Edict, whatever. I just don't think this collection of lands and spells works for me. If you jam this enough, you're probably going to run into some good win streaks because the high end of what you can do is quite powerful. But I think on average, you know, if you were to take this to a 10-round tournament, you're going to get absolutely pasted by a bunch of blue decks quite often. Especially these decks that, there's quite a few blue decks in the format that have hand disruption and counter spells now, and that's horrific for what we're trying to do here, because, you know, they can pick out the things, like the 1 or 2 things we're able to do quite easily. And when, you know, trying to use grief to make a hole in your opponent's hand feels very bad in a deck that mulligans a lot. It's trying to have access to lots of black cards just because we need to put things into Chrome Mox as well. It just doesn't work for me. And yeah, I think I've summed up my thoughts about this one quite nicely. If you search on my channel, you can find some other monoblack Helm decks. I used to play a deck called Helm's Deep, which was a hybrid deck that had a Vampire, Hexmage, Dark Depths, Thespian Stage combo in it, as well as Helm combo. So we're sort of reducing the sort of KARN type stuff so that we've got stuff lower on the curve, and we're running more black sources, and we have this other I win button. And Vampire Hexmage is, you know, pretty okay at the moment as a card anyway. You can hit your opponent's chalices, you can kill planeswalkers with it. There's quite a lot of planeswalkers and things like Grief, Wandering Emperor, Narset floating about, so you can certainly take some stuff out. Teferi as well. Like, I'm not saying Vampire Hexmage is an amazing card you should be running, like, without having something to go with it, but it's relatively serviceable. I find it's, you know, it's a guy that can come down and beat down a little bit as well. It just seems to be doing more for me than I found KARN. So maybe I'll go back and play a Helm's Deep league. I stopped playing Helm's Deep during the initiative because things were just so fast that you were stumbling sometimes and you didn't really have enough time to recover, and it just didn't feel like it was competitive in the initiative environment. But now the initiative decks have been banned and I haven't played it since, so maybe I will return to Helm's Deep at some point in the near future and see how that pans out. Alright, thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to check out the Patreon, like, comment, subscribe, join the Discord too. It's all in the description below. Alright, thank you very much for watching, and goodbye.